Welcome everybody to Astrology Unplugged. I'm Rick DiClemente. This is an astrology show, and sometimes, some weeks, it's not. Maybe 4 out of 5 weeks we talk about astrology-related items. And tonight is a night that we're going to be talking about some other things. Also, after almost 3 years, almost exactly 3 years, I will be shortening the show from now on from 90 minutes down to an hour in general. Tonight we're talking about mapping and tapping. Mapping and tapping. I'm not an expert on mapping. I know a good bit about tapping, but I'm here to just present these ideas to you. I'm definitely not advocating it, but I am going to explain what I know to you. You can explore it, and I do know people who have spent a lot of time with it. Okay, these are healing methodologies. Mapping is brought to us from this book by a woman named Michelle Small-Wright. Michelle Small-Wright. And she's 73 years old now, and mapping stands for a medical assistance program, or the co-creator of the White Brotherhood. Now, this is not a racist White Brotherhood. White means angelic, angels and higher elevated masters. So to show you, let me see what I got here. To show you what I have, there's Michelle. Here's a picture of what Michelle looks like in her younger days. And she resides on a farm, a commune type place just west of Washington, D.C., and it's called Perelandra. Perelandra. And that word, it seems to me, okay, here we go. Perelandra is a word in a futuristic novel by C.S. Lewis. So she found that word. It's a futuristic kind of utopia, I think. So let's go to, okay. It's the co-creative White Brotherhood with a medical assistance program, and Michael Small-Wright of Perelandra is the author of the book. Okay, here's what mapping is. Mapping, more or less, is getting spirits to work together to work on you as your doctor. You lay there and they work on you. So that's why I'm not going to promote it, because I'm not really into it. I've tried it. I do not know much about inviting spirits into my life and then wishing they weren't here. I know people who have been doing it for years. I know people that tried it a little bit, but here's what mapping is. She spent a lot of time. Who has, raise your hand if you heard of Findhorn in, I guess it's in Finland. Okay. Findhorn is a magical community with these phenomenal gardens growing with the help of divas like Pan, and they don't use any fertilizer, and they have cabbages this big, and they have cucumbers this big, and this has been around since the 70s. And what's interesting in Scotland, thank you, what's interesting to me is they came about in 77, which is the year that Chiron was discovered. So it's fascinating. So they're all about natural living, organic farms, and they don't do anything with the land. They just talk to the plants and they talk to the divas, and they say, please ask the bugs to go away. Please ask the beetles to go away. And there are all these tremendous stories about what they've accomplished through farming. There's a community that grew up there. She spent a lot of time with them and learned a lot. She seems like she must be Aquarian, because Aquarian women are the ones that are really fanatical about herbs and growing magic gardens. There's a lot on the internet about Findhorn, a lot of books published about it. If you want to read about it, it's a very natural community. So all I know is through working with Findhorn, she came back to this farm area. It's probably about 80 miles west of Washington, D.C. You could just search for Paralandra and it'll take you right to it. It's west of DC. And she now has a shop and she's making and providing essential oils and doing natural treatments for all kinds of things. Anyhow, that's what she's doing physically. There's a lot on her on the internet. Okay, she has a lot of videos on YouTube. Now, mapping is a healing mechanism that she has more or less invented by working with the White Brotherhood. The White Brotherhood, and if you look it up on the internet, there are many, many explanations who the White Brotherhood is, going back as far as starting with Uspensky and starting with Alice Bailey and Theosophy, all these different theories. So I don't know a lot about it. I'm just merely tossing this out to you. But eventually what happens is you start to work with a group of souls who are like at doctorate level, and you surrender and you just talk to them while they're operating on you. They're scanning your body and say, please look at my liver, I got pain there. Please look at my foot. Please look at this here and this here. And you surrender to them. And when you do that, here's what happens. Get all my buttons straight. Okay. When you do that, you open up what's called a coning session. Coning. And when you tell them, you just talk. The book has you learn to be very informal with them and very direct, like you're talking to friends. And you're inviting at least 4 spirits into the room, and they work on you. And when you start a coning session with them, get this, they want you to have a password. I don't know why, but you got a password so that they remember who you are. They link up with you by that. And every time you have a coding session, you ask them and you invite the following 4 entities. You invite the main one, who is called the overlighting deva of healing. Some type of angelic force. I don't know much about it. I'm just telling you what's in the book. These are the 4 things. You invite Pan. Pan is probably the leading, most powerful of the Devic realm, with the dwarves and the elves and all that. I don't understand it. All I know is there are different types of entities out there, and these 2, together with the White Brotherhood Medical Unit. And that White Brotherhood Medical Unit, I've heard, has people as wide-reaching as Moses, Saint Germain, Jesus, Yogananda. All these great higher-minded masters can be comprised of this unit. I don't know much about it, and the 4th one you invite is your higher self. Okay, I know it sounds far out, but I know people have done it a lot. Before this show came on, I just exchanged emails with Brad Silberberg. Brad was on this show 6 months ago talking about his Mesa Creative Arts Center. Brad is an amazing Pisces who's done lots of work on energy levels, inventing all kinds of things. Well, he used to be a metal worker, artist, sculptor, west of DC. He told me he went to Paralanders, which is what their farm is called. He spent time with Michelle. They taught him the mapping techniques. He has since gone on and copyrighted 4 or 5 other techniques that he invented himself. So it's right down his alley. He told me just now that he went there, he went through the techniques, and I've done it myself, and you lay there and you surrender and you talk to them. Some say that after a while you hear them talk back to you, and you ask them to scan you for any troubles, any blockages, and to help you become more fluid, okay, etc., etc. And then some people claim that they start to feel a little better. I mean, I did it a few times. I don't know if it was placebo effect. I don't know, it was my imagination. All I can say is if you're into it, give it a try, because there are all kind of chapters in the book on what to do under emergency situations, how to share it amongst other people. She's really, really developed this thing that they call mapping. Okay, that's what mapping is. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it but I don't know. I just don't know enough about it. I do know a psychologist here in West Virginia, Pennsylvania area who has spent at least 6 years in bed every day. She's fine. She lays on top of her bed every day for at least 6 years now and lets the team work on her. She told me last time I saw her that the team was redefining her DNA level. They were resetting her DNA level. I don't know what this means. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just telling you what it is. And if you care to find out more about it, those are the items and the things you need to do to look up. Hello, Linda. I want to talk mainly tonight about tapping. Okay. If you've heard about EFT was brought to us by a man named Gary Craig about 1993. Tapping, you've heard a lot of psychologists are doing this now. And what they're doing is they're tapping on the ends of meridian points in your body. And I'll explain to you why. I got a video prepared for you, a 10-minute video, because there are many, many different ways to do tapping. And the one I'm recommending, and I've done a lot of it, is by a man named Robert Smith. And you can find him easily by going to YouTube and type in Robert Smith Fast EFT. EFT is Emotional Freedom Technique. Emotional Freedom Technique. That's what Gary Craig invented. Well, this guy that you're looking at simplified it. This is Robert Smith. He has hundreds of videos. He's very patient, has a lot of videos on YouTube. They're all numbered. And what tapping is about is the original tapping, which was invented by Gary Craig in the early 90s. You could go to his website and you could download his book for free. And it was a manual on how to do EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And you would say certain sentences to yourself and you would tap on certain points and you would tap on fingertips. And what these points are is the body has 12 main circuitries that correspond to acupuncture, etc. And I'm sure you've all felt those times when you're sitting around out of nowhere, you'll get a pain at the tip of your finger. Like, where'd that come from? Or a pain in the tooth? Or a pain at the end of a toe? Most of these meridians, the 12, known as the liver meridian, the stomach meridian, the small intestine meridian, the heart meridian, there are all kinds of, on the internet, there are all kinds of diagrams showing you where these meridians go to, from, and to. Well, a lot of times when you feel those points, those pains are happening at those points. And it means you're having stress along that meridian. And they don't go where you think they would go. These meridians are kind of crazy how they crisscross the body. These are the courses that these people take ad infinitum when they learn to be acupuncturists. And they go much deeper than this, and all Chinese medicine is based on this. So what tapping is tapping is trying to break up the cycle, the worry cycle. Okay? So the one I'm going to show you here in a little bit is a woman who was molested. She's in her 50s or so. She was molested when she was 6. She comes to Robert to work on getting released from this kind of memory, this kind of pattern that's going on and on. On his videos, you'll see people with sore shoulders. You'll see people who've been raped. You'll see people who worry too much about money. You'll see every problem from A to Z. Every problem A to Z. And some people are easier to work with than others. And he tries to work with them to alleviate them from this problem. 2 things in particular I know from working with him. You want to go to Robert Smith, Fast EFT or Faster EFT, episode number 69 is a really powerful one because it explains to you the basics. And I found one just now, number 740 is one of his main ones where he explains to you how it works. So he keeps it very simple. He's a very laid back, peaceful Pisces type of individual. There's nothing in it for him, you can tell. He's there to help people. But you can just, well, I suggest you watch at least 20 videos before you make up your mind. But I have used it very, very successfully with me. Now, in the old days, tapping used to be very complex on many different points on the body. And you don't have to do much more than tap it. You don't have to shove it. You just tap it. And you just tap it on the end of that meridian. And what it does is when you worry about something, you maintain it. For example, when I worry about, let's just take a look here. All my relationships have ended badly. Okay? And in your mind, what happens, in your mind, which is such a terrible master, your mind goes, it's another bad one. It's another bad one. Remember this one? It's another bad one. It's another bad one. Here it comes. There's a signal. It did happen before. What about number 4? Yeah, it happened then. And how about 1973? Yeah, it happened then. And your mind just goes, oh, yeah. It just never shuts up. And when the Course in Miracles, that's talking about making your reality. And they're talking about surrendering. Same thing. And later on, I'm going to parallel how this tapping technique coincides perfectly with David Hawkins, one of his final books called Healing and Recovery. It's very similar to the tapping. So a person has a problem and he starts to walk you through it. And I'm going to give you a little preface. He always starts them out with, you got a problem? Now close your eyes and make that problem as bad as you can and tell me 1 through 10 how bad it is. 10 being the worst. It's very important that you do that scale. What I like about him is he's keeping things simple. And that's what I'm doing with my astrology, and that's what I'm doing with all my spiritual studies. I'm trying to make everything simple, because if it ain't simple, it ain't real. To me. If it's complicated, you want to stand on your ear and put your foot in your mouth, go ahead. Good luck. Good luck to you. I'm not telling you what to do. I just want simplicity. I'm stiff, I'm getting old. Okay. You start by tapping the middle between your eyebrows. This is one of the 8 major meridians. It ends at this point. By the way, one of the main meridians in your body goes from here down through your crotch and up your back, and that's called the central meridian. And then the general meridian comes up your back. I can't remember exactly where in the head, and it comes to here. So your 2 main circuits stop here and they stop here. And that's why babies suck their thumbs. Because they're completing the circuit. And your body knows this naturally. What happens when you're worried and you're up all night with a final? Where do you rub? Everybody that's stressed in the whole world, all the lawyers in the world are going like this, aren't they? Everybody's here. They're rubbing that point. Now, okay, Nathan. That's something I'm not doing. If you guys are watching on YouTube, we're actually typing little messages to each other, but I'm not repeating the one I just read. Okay. But anyhow, what the tapping is about, you're breaking the circuitry. You're interrupting the circuitry of this worry thing. Oh, I've been ugly. Oh, I've been fat. Oh, I've been, nobody wants me. Oh, my last relationship went 2 years. Did it go 2 years? Yeah, it was 3 years. Was it 3 years? Maybe it was 3 years. The other guy was 4 years. And you just go, blah, 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 blah. And you just go nuts with yourself. No wonder you can't get a successful relationship because you're just having this fight with yourself. So the tapping is merely an interruption of the process. The original tapping, which was called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, had about 16 points. It involved tapping here like this, and saying certain statements and all this. All that this guy, Robert Smith's faster EFT, is right here or here. It doesn't matter if you go down the right side, left side, doesn't matter. You can go back up. You don't have to go down in order. You can go back, repeat it all you want. Here and here and here, that's 3. Here, 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 that's 3. Go right to the chest plate, to the left and right of the chest bone, the breastbone is the end of a major meridian. You don't want it right on. You want to be a little bit to the side. Is a major one here. Okay, so you go 1, you go 2, you go 3, you go 4, and then you hold your wrists. That's it. You take a deep breath inside, and when you exhale, you say peace. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Exhale and say peace. Now, I have used this in the operating room. I've used this during crises. I've used this when I can't sleep. I've used this on anything. And almost instantly, as soon as I touch, I start yawning. Instantly. You just start yawning, and boy, that's a good sign. And if the tears come out, better, because you're holding all that stress in. Again, here, you could go here. You can go here. You can go both sides if you want. Doesn't matter which hand. He can even do it for you. So in the movie, you're going to see he does the tapping for the person. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So I'm not going to say much more. I'm going to just show you the video first. Then we'll talk much more about it. I looked through several videos. This is about a woman who was molested at age 6. She's tired of it. I mean, she's tired of trying to struggle with it. She wants to be free of it. And you're going to watch what I consider a very normal video of his. He has hundreds. And I told you, he's got people anywhere from bumping their toe to almost being murdered. Or their parents fought a lot, whatever the stress point is. So let's go here and take a look. And I hope I can get my volume up as high as I can. All right. All right. We're going to cut that down. We're going to exit this. We're going to minimize this. You can, okay, while you're recording. All right. All right. Bookmarks. Here we go to YouTube.
All right, and going back to my childhood memory.
1 second. I got to come back to this.
I figured out I've worked on this childhood memory a lot. But I realized that it's a pattern that has, it's a basis for a pattern that is a constant up till now. So I want to release all of it.
Do you mind sharing what it is, this memory?
Well, it's a little naked, but I will. I was molested as a kid.
Okay. It's a very common thing.
And so, and it went on a long time, like a year and a half. It was the origin of a bad tape in me. Okay, because when my parents found out, they said he was bad because I was part of the circle. I assumed I was bad.
Which
okay.
That was your...
Okay, and I didn't get therapy until later. And so it was a bad, and like one of my ex-husbands reminds me of my abuser.
Now that's really crazy,
okay.
But it happened.
So
okay.
I've recreated this enough times, and I've gone back to heal that early memory again, including hypnosis. I took multiple seminars in self-hypnosis. So, but as I see that thread, okay, obviously it's not completely, my saying is same song, different verse.
Okay. So let's do this.
Okay.
You know what happened, right?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have memory of what happened?
Some of it.
Okay.
Not all of it.
Okay. How old are you when it happened?
6.
6. All right. Let's just do a test. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, of course, guys, memories buried alive never die.
Mhm.
They come up. They just show back up in another pair of shoes.
Oh, I tried to outrun this one a long time.
Of course, you can't run from it because why? You take it with you.
You do.
All right. So this is what I want you to do. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Now I want you to drift back in time, and I want you to be 6 years old. And I want you to stand wherever it was, be there, and see if you can.
Mhm.
And can you feel anything?
Mhm.
Right. I want you in your mind only. You don't have to share anything. But I want you in your mind to walk through the path, feel it, experience it for the last time. And when you get done, all you do is nod your head. And listen to what your mom said. And feel that part too. Got it? And in your mind, all I want you to do is imagine in front of you a tree. See the tree. Now what happens when you pull the roots out? Notice what happens to a tree without roots. See it?
Mhm.
Everybody tap with me. Say it out loud. I release and let go.
I release and let go.
All the sadnesses.
All the sadnesses.
I release and let go.
I release and let go.
All the fears.
All the fears.
I release and let go.
I release and let go.
All the emotional traumas.
All the emotional trauma.
I release and let go.
I release and let
The
go.
helplessness,
The helplessness.
the feelings of no control,
The feelings of no control.
the rejections,
The rejections.
the abandonments,
The abandonment.
the betrayals,
The betrayal.
and all my guilt.
And all my guilt.
I release and let it go.
I release and let it go.
Take a deep breath. Peace.
Peace.
Right now, I want you to go back to the experience. You're 6 years old again, and I want you to step back through it, and I want you to just stop when you feel anything. And nod your head. Feel it. Notice what it feels like. Notice the sensation in your body. Got it? Let it go.
Let it go.
It's safe to let it go.
Safe to let it go.
It's safe to let it go. I'm here now.
I'm here now.
It's over.
It's over.
Peace.
Peace.
Deep breath. Peace. Right. Go back to it again and check that point. See if it still bothers you.
Yep.
And how do you know it bothers you?
I feel it in my chest.
Notice the feeling in your chest.
Mhm.
Notice how big it is and notice what it represents. Right. That release and let it go.
I release and let it go.
I let it all go.
I let it all go.
Even though I've been fond of this memory,
Even though I've been fond of this memory.
I've been dragging around everywhere I go.
Dragging it around.
Spend thousands of dollars on it.
Spent thousands of dollars.
Found men to take the place.
A lot of men to take the place.
I just let it go now.
I just let it go now.
It's safe.
It's safe.
Deep breath. Peace.
Peace.
Right, go back to that again. Check it, see if it still bothers you.
Actually, I feel a clearing in my ears.
All right. Now go on to the memory, and I want you to find anything that can bother you.
Okay.
Something?
Mm-hmm.
Notice I want you to make it stronger than it is now. Got it? Notice how strong it is. Now release and let it go.
I release and let it go.
It's safe to let it go now.
Safe to let it go now.
It's all over.
It's all over.
It's in the past. I'm no longer 6.
I'm no longer six.
I don't have to act that way.
Don't have to.
It's over.
So,
Deep breath. Peace. Right, check it again. See if that part still bothers you.
No.
And then what? Anything?
No.
Listen to what your mom said. He's bad. And then you said, well, I'm bad too. Can you feel that feeling?
Yeah.
You're very proud of that. You're really good at that one.
I was good at it. Yeah.
All my life I've been bad.
Mm.
Feel that?
Yep.
All right. I release and let it go.
I release and let it go.
All my life
All my life,
I felt that way.
I felt that way.
Release and let it go.
Release and let
It's
it go.
just a feeling.
Just a feeling.
I produced.
I produced.
And I was good
I was good
at feeling that bad feeling.
at feeling that bad feeling.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Deep breath. Peace. Check it again. I'm bad. And how bad are you?
No.
You're not bad, are you?
No.
Right. Now remember this memory.
Mm-hmm.
Now in your mind, can you play the memory again? And does it bother you at all?
It's rather comical.
Are you telling me that something that was so horrible is funny now?
Yeah.
Now why
Pretty
is
good.
So did it really change?
Yeah.
All right, now here's the tip. Now you spent thousands of dollars, therapy, hypnosis, and it didn't take 2 minutes.
Mm.
All right, so make it come back. Make it bad as it was before.
There's a ship.
Shit happens.
Good ship.
So it changed, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So the memory's not the same as it was when we started, is it?
No.
Did you hear that? What's real right now?
This moment.
All right. Now I want you to do this. I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to go somewhere in your present or sometime where you were with somebody and you know that you were loved. And I want you to feel that love feeling. I want you to make that feeling stronger and notice where you feel it at. And as you feel it, I want you to look over to that little girl at 6 years old. And as you do, I want you to send this feeling to her. That's right, send her some more. And I want you to invite her over to you. As soon as she gets close enough, I want you to wrap your arms around her and hold her. Hold her really tight. Whisper in her ear something she's always needed to know. And listen, she has something for you too. Squeeze her so tight that that little girl begins to drift inside you, because she's always going to be safe with you for the rest of your life. Say peace.
Peace.
All right. Now this memory has always bothered you today, up until today.
Yep.
All right. Make it come back.
No.
It's changed, hasn't it?
It has. Because the one I just put in is what comes up.
Okay,
Right.
we're
See
going
that,
to
guys?
we're going to
Now,
stop
here's
here.
something really powerful.
Okay, you got the idea. I hope you could all hear. You got the idea of a very typical session with him. I'm going to compare it with A Course in Miracles and with David Hawkins here in a minute. Okay, now in the old EFT, you had to ask the questions in a specific way. Okay, very rigid, and it was a set outline you had to do. A lot of steps, maybe 25 steps. You saw how he has simplified it. That's why he calls it faster EFT. He's chosen to just, these are the ends of major meridian points. These are major ones, especially this one here, the major one. This is why you have pains in certain areas. And Marcia, when you've been doing so much massage with people, I'm sure you've had people that have had specific problems at specific points, and it's really sore. Okay, now I'm telling you, I really suggest you watch 10, 20 of these, because he has people from A to Z. He has one woman on here who was so messed up from her problems. He tells you, you might not get rid of this in 5, 10 times. You might not get rid of this in 1 week, 2 months. And this woman, she got dedicated to this. She spent months and months and months and months and got to the point where it didn't bother her at all. And you'll find her out there in the list. I mean, it just to the point where it just doesn't bother you. And the memory of it brings up laughter, like she said. Well, what happens is you got the original pain, and then you got all the junk that you put on top of it. You have to work through these levels. Now, I'm not going to say much more about this part because it's very simple, and he's even given it a name now, since I've not seen him in a little while. He calls it eutaptics, EUTAP, eutaptics. So anyhow, I really recommend that you do give it a shot, especially if you're feeling stressed. I've had times when I had to go into for operations and I was really wired, and I sit there and start tapping. People walking by, and I just don't care what they think because I'm busy tapping. And next thing I know, I'm yawning and I'm ready to get my shot to go under. I've had a lot of success with it. Now, it does not matter how many times you can go down and go back up. You can go down the other side. There's nothing rigid about it. It's very free flowing. It's very unplugged. Okay? Now, what is the Course in Miracles doing? When you get into tension, you give it away. When you get into tension, you give it away. Two instructions in the whole big fat Course in Miracles. If you're uptight, they say forgive it, which means let it go, and give the rest to the Holy Spirit. In both methods, you're getting rid of the stuff. You're getting temporarily detached from it. In Robert's case, you're tapping it away, and your mind is going through it. Who knows what you're thinking when you're doing it? But if you could picture the electronics, the electric flow going through those synapses, you ought to have MS for 45 years. I'll tell you about it. And a signal can't get from here to there. Can't get there. They can't get there. And you tap it and you interrupt it. And all of a sudden, the pathway is not open anymore. Now you get to thinking about the people that are doing neuro-linguistic programming now. There are a lot of therapists now that are doing tapping. Lots of them. Lots of them. Lots of them are doing the self-testing kinesiology, which he talks a lot about too. So it's a very simplified method for this. And I suggest you try it on something simple. I used to have a girlfriend one time who couldn't stand the taste of wood in her mouth, like a popsicle stick. She just couldn't stand it. The texture, popsicle stick or a tongue depressor. And she was a nurse. She just couldn't stand it. So I said, let's try it. What you got to lose? Now I tried. Let's just try it. What are you going to lose? And we went through it in 5 minutes, and what he did not show you here was in his earlier videos, go back to the number scale. Oh, it was bothering me 9. Now it's bothering me 7. Keep bringing that up. Now it's bothering me 4. Now it's just a 1. Keep doing that. That's really important. And with the tongue depressor thing, she got to wear a zebra. She didn't think something differently. She just unplugged. What a good name we've got. She just unplugged the problem. Okay, now, when you think of the Course is having you identifying it, letting it go, giving control over to the Holy Spirit, which is really the only thing there is. So then we come up with David Hawkins. He just wrote 9 books before he died, 84 years old. Had a healing center in Sedona. We've done shows on this. His first book was a major hit called Power versus Force, trying to explain to Americans the difference between power, God, ocean, and force, redneck. Are you forcing it? Or are you flowing with it? Okay? Well, I sure kicked his butt. That's force. Power is when you do nothing. You just sit there like Jesus did. And you just let it flow. Power. Because there's nobody in the middle to stop it. In his book, he's the one that did a tremendous amount of work with the scales, just from 0 to 1,000. I'm not going to get into that now. The exponential scales, which tell us how much truth is in something. 200 being neutral, below 200 is negative, above 200 is godlike and emotional and beautiful, and all the way up to saintly. He explains all that in this book. But the point I want to get to you in this book is this. He cured himself of a lot of major diseases. Diabetes. He cured himself of eyeglasses in 6 weeks. And what did he do? He laid on his bed. Did you see a similarity there? He wasn't calling on the White Brotherhood team to work on him. He laid on his bed with one instruction, was do not label anything. This is why we get back to the Garden of Eden. Thou shalt not eat from the tree of good knowledge and bad knowledge, whatever the statement is. Same thing. Don't judge it. Because here's what happens when you label it. Okay? Let's say I'm thinking about an intestinal problem. Say I had an intestinal operation a few years ago and it's coming back and bugging me again. When I think about it, oh yeah, well that was a doctor. Have I called the doctor? I don't know. I haven't seen a doctor. Yeah, but I feel a little twinge now. What about that medicine? Well, that medicine didn't work. He didn't always talk about. Well, I got this other medicine. It kind of works pretty good here. Yeah, but is there a problem there? I don't know. I saw a guy talk about it, and your mind just goes blah, 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 blah. It just creates all this stuff around this thing. And what you really are is an energy body. And you're not even that, really. You are an energy field. And if you leave it alone, it will normalize. If you leave it alone, it will normalize because it's within God's realm. And God's realm is normal and healthy. But if you F with it, it gets all screwed up. How many times we tell a little kid, quit picking that scab, right? And it's just natural. You want to pick at that scab and then the kid's got a mess, right? Which is normal. So he laid on his bed and cured himself of diabetes. He cured himself of cancer. He cured himself of lots of things. He does say in this book exactly how to do it. There's no really how to do it. Just stop labeling it. But he does say that harder, more severe cases sometimes don't get healed. Sometimes they take a couple years to work on. Many of them he got rid of in a couple months. Just by laying there and sensing, I feel thick energy around my knee. I feel thick energy around my knee. Say on the brain scale, you think it's an infection, you feel there's an ulcer going on, then your mind starts thinking of the drugs and which doctor you got to see and all that. Blah, 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 blah. Instead of, I feel thick, bothered energy around my knee, around my ear, in my neck. But once we start messing with it, which includes labeling it, which triggers all the fear mechanisms, all the things we're going to do to it, it's so convoluted and so messed up. And, then you start to see all the statements that come directly from this, let go and let God. There's nothing magical here. It's nothing magical. It's very simple. Now, it's not easy to do it. So the next time, when you leave this show in about 15 minutes or whatever, when you leave the show and you get a little time by yourself, I'm sure you got parts of your body that don't feel real well, or you got a spasm certain place, or a bothersome knee or whatever. Lay there by yourself, nobody interrupting, no cell phones on, and just feel it. Don't get addicted to the words about it. Just feel it. This is what I feel. In the case of mapping, you invite in the team. You say, this is what I would like for you to inspect. And who knows what they do? I don't know what they do. This is not my thing. It's really similar. I know that. But go to YouTube and put in Robert Smith, faster EFT, and you'll see hundreds and hundreds of videos. Some are 5 minutes, most of them are 10 or 15, some are an hour. And the people just crying. They're releasing so much. And he gets into this talk about, well, you really carried this with you a long time, haven't you? You really like it. You paid a lot of money to keep this injury, didn't you? Didn't you? And we end up seeing so much as in astrology, you see it. We end up marrying the drunk father. It's what we're used to. We believe it. We believe we belong in that syndrome. You wouldn't believe in my profession, I would say 9 out of 10 people marry their mom or dad. You don't even know why. Anybody's been married more than once here. Or think about it. Think about people you know. Think about the situation they had with one or two of their parents and see how they marry right into it. So when I get to thinking about stuff like this, it's a miracle we're still alive. It's a miracle we're still alive. All the shit we put ourselves through. Just think about it. And then you got to deal with all these other people, and what are they thinking, and what's their opinion? And really, everybody you see is in the same situation. They're walking around with their bruises and their stuff, and they're trying to get rid of it. They don't want anybody to see it, you know? And it all ends up, poof, in the White House. Oh, God. Oh, God, it all ends up in the White House. And whatever he does is okay with me. Right, Marcia? Surrender. There she goes again. There she goes again. Oh, man, I got to put her on the show every week or else she's going to show me that sign. So what is surrender? I mean, what do the gurus say? What does Gandhi say? What does the Buddha say? What does Jesus say? What does Tolle say? Ram Dass say? Let things be as they are. Which sounds a lot to me like you're not judging it and you're not labeling it. What's the saying? You will be okay with everything once you're okay with everything. But our mind just triggers this stuff of all these things. It goes nuts. So I can safely say I don't know a lot about mapping. I have had some success with it. I've talked to several people who also have. I know people have been doing it 6, 7 years. I do know a lot about tapping because I've done it a lot. It gets much, much more complex than what we've revealed tonight. Tonight was 101. But you'll really enjoy watching his videos because he's very peaceful. He's very loving. He's got all kind of books out and videos you can buy and CDs and all that. He's got all kind of courses and correspondence that you can learn to be a facilitator of this particular methodology. Utaptics. Is that what he calls it? Utaptics. Utaptics. Robert G. Smith. But go ahead and watch some, you know. I mean, I watched a woman one night who had a bad right shoulder, and at the same time I had a bad right shoulder. And I just went through a 20-minute video with her, and when we were done, our shoulders were fine, hers and mine. Didn't hurt. You don't realize how much junk you're carrying in that spot. Marcia, did you have the... Marcia is a certified masseuse. May I ask you, did you... I'm going to unmute you. Did you have, in your years of doing massage with people, did you find that when you got to certain spots, it triggered certain emotions?
Oh, of course.
Tell me about that.
Well, some people talk a lot about a problem or cry. or say, please press harder there, or it could be many things. But one of the techniques that I've used for years is tapping.
Oh, yeah?
But not in this way.
Yeah, they're all a little different.
Yeah, through a technique in Swedish massage, there's
Uh-huh.
a technique that's a percussive technique
Mm-hmm.
that I've used very successfully over the years, and it helps with the muscles and the nerves,
Mm-hmm.
stimulating and then exhausting them, depending how long you apply that percussive movement.
That makes total sense. I know a person, I know a male who's been through hell and back for a long time. He went to one of these workshops that Liza went to in Barcelona called holotropic breathing. In holotropic breathing, you come in and you lay down on the carpet and you have a partner and you put on this really, really loud rock music just to scatter your brain so you can't stick with your thinking. And then you start crying, and you start pounding pillows, and you just start breathing. You start doing this heavy breathing. And you just start releasing this stuff. And there are people writhing on the floor. It's kind of like primal scream in the old days in a way. Some people were screaming, some people were crying, some people were just sitting there curled up like a baby. And what's happening with that person is he let go of so much stuff, just junk. Then he went back and he did it a second time. And now he's like a different person.
Wow.
That's all been covering him. So all the different methods are really similar, you know?
And the
Mapping, the team's doing it for you. The massage, they're helping with you. The energy healers are helping with you. The Course in Miracles are helping. All of it's got to do with junk burying us from our true nature, which is really pretty cool and pretty nice and pretty warm and pretty smart, right? And I'm not an expert. I am a little bit with astrology, but I like to bring to you at least once a month some technique that's different than we can talk about. Something might catch your ear, but I really advise that you look them up and try it. I think you'll be really shocked. Don't be embarrassed. Go at it. If you got a problem with your left hip, go at it and tap at it. Say, I don't know what's in there, but I let it go. I don't know how long you've been there. I don't want you here. Get out. I don't want you. I'm letting it go. Whatever. Go round and round and hold your wrist. Very important part at the end. You hold the wrist and you take a deep breath and you release it and you say peace. Now you saw tonight, he does do that sometimes. At the end, he goes into replacing the injured area with a positive thought. And his episode, I believe it was 740, he explains how it works, I guess, physiologically.
Mhm.
So we're going to wrap up tonight in the next couple minutes. If you have any questions about it, I will address them now. If you have any question about tapping or mapping, I'll do my best. But don't you think, Dr. Kim, that it's really kind of related to what the Course is doing? It's just different words, different terms.
Yeah, and I think the meridians, I think that circuitry, I mean, we are vibrations, we know all that, and if it's running a certain way, you know, yeah, and I like that no rigidity, that because that's where I always lost tapping, and we're like, well, you know, I don't know what
Well,
it was.
you had all the Virgo in you, and the Virgo conned you into thinking that following the book is important, because that's what Virgo does, you know, and that's why they're here. But it doesn't matter how you do it. It's the intent.
Mhm.
The intent. I unplug because I choose to unplug. Right, that's
Peace. Yeah.
unplug. Someday I'm going to get T-shirts, and they're going to say, "I have been unplugged."
I
Right?
like it. Yeah.
You're going to sell them, and turn around. You're going to have my logo of the show. But all these people are going to walk up to you and say, "What the hell you mean you've been unplugged?" I say, "Long story, brother." It's a long story.
It was a long line, wasn't it?
It was a-
Long cord.
Yes. What I always like to check in with my friend Linda here. What did all this make you think?
Well, when you were talking about how, people have like an original trauma and then all this other stuff gets built on top. My first therapist, who was a freaking genius and a hypnotist expert, he called that a blivet. And one of the things he taught me was that, especially when you have like a PTSD or what people call being triggered, almost always that means there's trauma under there and it's in layers, and some little things happen here and it's not really the problem, it's underneath. And so that, and talk therapy is all about getting down through those layers, but tapping and hypnosis and some of these other things are shortcuts to sort of getting through to the original trauma. And, but I think it's super important for people to understand that, the seemingly small things in life that set us off should be alarm systems to us. It should be saying to us, pay attention to this thing because this is out of proportion. You're reacting out of proportion to what's going on. So there has to be something underneath it. And if you don't do it underneath it, you just keep piling it up. And eventually it's going to end up, something bad's going to happen. You're going to get
I call that a Mack truck in your lane coming at you.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure there's health repercussions. I know there's relationship repercussions and living within yourself, unhappiness. So, I mean, I'm all for all these things that help you get at the bottom layer and try. I mean, that's one of the things working with you's done for me is I've really gotten down to the nitty gritty. But I think charts have helped me a lot in understanding.
They're all different methods to get down to that.
And the more you have, the more methods you have, the more ways you have of addressing something, the better off we are. Because like I say, you can do talk therapy for 10 years and get at the bottom, or you can tap.
You saw this lady in about 7 minutes. I mean, releasing molestation is not a simple thing. I mean, you can tell when they walk in your office, you can tell which ones have been molested. You can tell because they've been around and around and they can't get rid of it. And it has really fouled up their functioning. It really has. Look at what she did in about 7 or 8 minutes.
And it's a tool. And if the thing comes back a little bit, she has a tool to put it back in its box again. Get it.
That's exactly right. And it was neat to see that one woman I told you that couldn't get rid of it, but she was dedicated. She kept a notebook and she just stayed at it until it was gone. Months of it. Probably thousands of times. The tapping. Whatever it took. But anyhow, I think tonight's been good. It is a little shorter than usual, but so what? Some things are short. Some things are small. Next week we'll go back to astrology probably. But I hope you enjoyed it tonight. Thank you, YouTubers, for joining us on Pluggers. And we will see you next week on Astrology Unplugged. Thanks for being with us, and good luck if you're going to try some tapping, because I want to hear some good, interesting stories. Some people even say, this far out, some people say that you can hold your dog with your left hand or your cat with your left hand and do tapping with your right, and it heals the animal. And now when you start thinking about quantum mechanics, you see how this can happen. We're no longer linear. Things are quantum. So, you are welcome, Ray and everybody. Bless y'all. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.